Hey there, I'm Judy Croon, and welcome to the Judy Croon Show. I have a segment called Comedians with Compassion. And with the series, we shine a spotlight on the funny people who do more than make us laugh. They make the world a little bit better. In every episode, I like to sit down with comedians who use their humor, their heart, and platform to lift others up. Yes, they can crush a set, but they can also rally a community, raise a cause, and remind us that compassion is the best punchline of all. Deborah Kimmett I'm so honored to have her on this show. She's a beloved Canadian comedian, writer, actor, and master storyteller whose work has been heard on CBC's The Debaters, Second City, and across stages and screens nationwide. Known for her sharp wit, big heart, and uncanny ability to find laughter in life's messiest moments, Deborah has spent decades entertaining audiences while also inspiring them with her signature mix of humor and humanity. But Deborah doesn't just talk about compassion, she puts it into action. Each year, she leads her annual Secret Santa Sock Fund. And I wanted her to talk about this because it's still going on. You can still give money to it. And it's such a practical, great idea. Perfect for this time of year when there's so many people in need. Deborah, thank you for joining me on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Judy. Thank you.
So, this is the seventh year for your sock fund, correct?
Yes, yes. Every year it's kind of growing. I started it because a couple of friends of mine were on Facebook and they just went down and I think it was right before COVID and they started to just go down in the street and ask people on Facebook to buy Tim Hortons gift certificates or send in some cash. And they really did a lot of good in 2 weeks in the coldest weeks of the winter. And then I got this idea because socks are really needed for people who are experiencing homelessness. They're outside a lot, even if they have a place to sleep at night. They are usually walking the streets while the shelter before the shelters open. So from 7 in the morning till 5 at night, they have nowhere to go.
Hmm.
They might have a chance to go for a meal at a soup kitchen or community kitchen, but the feet being warm and dry in the summer and the winter are really important. And so I made this thing like $20. You can make a difference, 3 or 4 good pairs of socks. And we could give out a lot of socks. And it was great because I have learned as I've gone along, that when you give people a small goal to hit, it's like I think we all feel overwhelmed by poverty
For
and
sure.
especially the growing homelessness issue. And I also think we have, just we have opinions about who needs the money and who doesn't need the money, but no one can disagree with socks. Like, it's kind of like, yeah, you need warm feet. And so people have been really generous over the years and have
Tell
given
folks how
a
much
lot.
money you've raised, like from the first year to now.
I think it's about 27,000.
That's incredible. So
Yeah, yeah.
$27,000 over the 7 years, correct?
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, it's like it's just been this little grassroots thing. So the first year we only got 600 and then, just every year, like last year I think was 6 or 7,000. So it just keeps going. And, I'm not like worried about how much, but I've also, was getting into this feeling, oh, like every year we have to make more money. And then I thought, no, I think the big thing for me and is awareness that we just don't walk by people that we kind of recognize that their humanity. And I don't think handing out cash is always the easiest thing for that situation. People feel weird about that, but you can say, hey, would you like a pair of socks? And it gives a chance to make that other person who is lost at that moment a human being. And you don't have to go home and take them home for supper. You don't have to give them $50, but it's like you give them something that actually will help. And also maybe the reaction isn't always positive, but it doesn't matter. To me, it's more like you're just saying, I'm human, you're human. Would you like this? And see what happens.
Well, it's a phenomenal idea. Right off the beginning here, before we go any further, tell folks how they can contribute because I believe you're still collecting money for this year, right? So
Yeah, I'm going to
folks, how they
probably
doing?
collect a little later because I've been on tour, so I'll probably collect up until the 20th. You can just e-transfer DebKimmett at gmail.com. That's DebKimmett, Kimmett at gmail.com. And if you don't want to give to my fund, you can buy some socks, put them in the car and hand them out when you see people because the weather usually gets pretty cold after Christmas and people still will need that giving even then.
Something you said though, I remember when I had interviewed you before about this, something you said very important about socks because everybody thinks, oh, I'll just go to the dollar store, I'll get some socks. There's something
100%.
very specific about socks. Please tell folks what that is.
Right. This is one of these things I learned, like the cheap polyester thin socks can actually really damage people.
Mm,
They don't protect the feet from moisture, so then people's feet get infected. And so thick wool blend or a thermal blend, but don't buy cotton. There's a thing in the homeless community which is cotton kills. It
mm.
just does not stay warm enough. And a person who is on the street, again, homeless, but maybe they go home at night, but they don't have anywhere to wash these socks, so they go through probably one pair every couple weeks. I do a lot at 519 Church in Toronto, which serves over 125,000 people under the poverty line. It's
Wow.
one little tiny area. And they say that they go through about 250 pairs of socks every week.
Oh my goodness.
So you know what I mean? Like, this is a simple way to do it. Lots of people do these sock funds at their school and all that. Whichever way you give, like my point is just give. And also you can put them in the car and if it's a cold day and you walk by, you can just roll down the window and say, "Hey, would you care for a pair of socks?" And I have to say 90% of the time people are really happy for that because they
I
are
bet.
cold. They're cold. And the thing about the socks is I feel like I'm doing a sock commercial here, is that those
Go
warm
for it.
socks are great even in the summer because it's the moisture on their feet that can cause for people with diabetes and seniors. And also their feet get really sore from walking. A person experiencing homelessness will walk about, the average of about 8 kilometers to 10 kilometers a day,
Mm.
so it's good.
So, folks, you heard Deb say, easiest thing to do if you just want to send her a small amount of money, you can email her at, I've got Deborah at Kimmett.ca, but I think you said DebKimmett at gmail.com,
That's
correct?
probably the easiest one.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Deb Kimmett, two M's, two T's. I'm going to include the info on the podcast here, but Deb Kimmett. And if you send an e-transfer, but you've also become this aficionado of the perfect sock, I'm sure. So if someone wants to buy a sock online, let's say, what kind of sock or what kind of deal have you seen that you're like, okay, that's what I click on when I want to get a bunch of wool socks for folks on the street?
well, I usually go to the dollar store because they have thermal blend and you can get two pairs for $6. And so I just look at the blend and
Okay.
all I say is don't be behind me in the dollar store because you're going to want to kill yourself. So I've like got two crates full of stuff, but you can buy anything online that would be a thermal blend. And the other thing I would say about socks is don't knit people's socks because they won't last that long and you've done a lot of work for something like that. It makes you feel good, but they're not fancy and they're not dress socks. They're really the just basic humanity of keeping people warm and dry.
Fantastic, fantastic. So again, if you want any more information on this, you can also go to we should give folks your website, kimmit.ca.
Yep.
And I'm assuming, Deb, there's a link on your website as well, correct?
Yes, and there's also you can just follow me on Instagram and I can DM you there. And just any questions you have, please just ask.
So you're obviously a very compassionate person, but let's talk about the comedy now. You said you're on tour. Tell folks what you're currently doing.
Well, I've been on tour since November with the Debaters Live tour. We did Quebec and Ontario. We did 7 nights in 9 days, and now we're out west. We've done 8 shows in 10 days, and our eighth show is tonight in Victoria. And then I fly home and start buying socks.
Well, you know what? I want to thank you, by the way, because a group that I volunteer with, City Street Outreach, we help the homeless in Toronto, people who are vulnerable. And Deb has been kind enough now, the last couple of years especially, given me through her sock fund, lots of sleeping bags, brand new sleeping bags that sadly we need for folks who are sleeping on the street, but you are seriously saving lives with what you're doing, you know. So
Yeah. Well,
I
we
just
got
wanted to
so
thank you
much
face to
money
face.
last year that we thought we should go for bigger things. And sleeping bags is another one. I mean, people go through them and they need protection in the weather, in the warmth. And I don't know what it's like in small communities, but in Toronto, the shelters are really over stretched, and some people can't get in at night because there isn't room. There's also, cleanliness and things like that. So the sleeping bags, you go through them really quickly. You can buy fairly reasonable ones for, not a lot of money, but you can protect people. And again, in those cold, windy nights, they do save lives.
Fantastic. You're doing great work. Before we go into 2026, one last question. What's going to be happening to Deb Kimmett in 2026? What are I mean, your book, by the way, congratulations. Tell folks about your book who don't know.
Well, I wrote a book called Window Shopping for God. It was all this it was a time in my life where, like everything was going so wrong. It was like, if there's a God, where is it? And it has done really well. I did a book tour with it through Douglas McIntyre Publishing, and it's it's just done really well. It's a story of my life for searching for meaning in the middle of humor and finding humor in the middle of tragedy. And yeah, I've been really, just one of those things I was very proud of finishing and doing. And then when I get back from this tour, I'm taking a couple months off. I've got a new book, and it's actually about kind of homelessness. It's called Not in My Backyard, and it's a murder mystery.
Oh,
It is funny, but it's a murder mystery of a woman who thinks she's so politically correct for people that are down and out, but then something happens where it challenges her own commitment to her values.
excellent. Excellent. We'll totally look out for that. On behalf of all of the folks who just need a bit of help, especially around this time of year. Again, I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done. Not only do you bring smiles to people's faces throughout the year, but your annual sock fund has been really tremendous and helped so many people. You'll probably never know, we go on to the next lifetime, and I'm sure you're going to see all those warm feet thanks
Yeah,
to
well, let's
something
hope
that you
there's
saw,
another lifetime. Yeah,
right?
but I do just want to end with this. I think you can't do everything, but you can do one small thing. And I think that's so needed right now is instead of being overwhelmed, just do one action, one counterintuitive action. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Your tiny little contribution to someone is a big deal. And that's where I see most people in Canada are so generous. They'll do that one action and you go, it doesn't look like much on the global stage, but it's what makes our country really great. You see this everywhere. I've seen it all across Canada in the last few months. So that's what I think.
You know what? That's a really great point. I mean, I have to say, I was probably influenced by my mom. My mom sort of came from a background. She grew up in Guyana where there wasn't a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
money. And so it was really the community taking care of not only their family, but other families and strangers as well. So that sort of came from my mom's side. My dad was a generous person too, but in a different way, right? But I always sort of had that influence, and I just thought I kind of came to a point in my life, probably like 10 years ago, where to your point, I said, what's just one thing I can consciously do a day that would make a difference? And it started off like, I don't know, I can email so and so and just see how they're doing. I haven't heard from them in ages, or text somebody or give a little bit of money to a charity or write a letter to somebody. But it just started out as, to your point, one small thing. And you just be shocked at how quickly that can grow. And you know what? It's kind of selfish because it's not only for the person that you're doing it for, but it makes you feel good as well. And honestly, it's not a huge effort. So you just never know where it might,
Well,
where,
you are very good at that, and I think you're consistent. And I think that's the other thing. I think that sometimes we make it so big that we think it has to be a grand gesture,
good point.
and I got to be part of a fundraiser and all
Yeah.
that. I have to raise 100,000, and you
Oh,
don't do anything, right? But
right.
that consistent, and I just want to say the action changes your brain. What I think we think is, oh, when if I feel like doing it, I'll do it. But
Mhm.
if you do it, you'll feel like doing it. Like I know
Yeah.
you get a reward for doing it. And
Mhm.
that you almost like just when you were saying all those nice things about me, you go, it's so funny you say it because I get so much from doing it that I want to keep doing it. And I suffer from kind of the depression in the winter. And I got to
Mm.
be telling you, this is better than antidepressant because you
Yeah.
make connection with people.
Hmm.
And I've read a lot of spiritual teachers, and they said you don't have to save a person, you just have to acknowledge their humanity. And I think, you can't walk around shaking hands with everybody on the street. They don't want that either.
Yeah.
But you can do one thing that makes them remember their humanity. Just one action can make another person go, "Oh, I'm not forgotten. I'm seen here," even if it was only a second.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? A lot of times we don't make eye contact because we're like, oh,
No,
I
because
don't have
that's
any
when,
money on me. I don't have
yeah,
any, I have nothing to give. But you have acknowledgement to give. And just by making eye contact or just saying hi, you're not, like you said, you're not taking the person home. Like, great if you are. But the majority of us pass those people. And a lot of times we don't make eye contact. We don't acknowledge them because we feel bad that we have nothing to give them. But acknowledgement is a huge thing alone.
yeah, yeah. And also, I think it's our own discomfort with another person's suffering that we think it'll overwhelm us if we
Right.
look and just acknowledge for a second. But it's good for us to be reminded, that you give three circumstances and your life would have been completely different, right? Your own life, right?
Yeah.
One sickness,
Absolutely.
one partner passing away, one mental health issue, one drug problem, and you would be that person. And for me, that's been a reminder of that we're
Definitely.
all very close to what we could be in the need category very quickly.
For sure, for sure. Okay, listen, folks, I'm going to include all of Deb's great information. She's got her tour, she's got her dates on her website as well if you want to check her out. But if between now and the end of the month you want to give her sock fund some money, it doesn't have to be a lot, but it's as easy as sending a small amount of money, sending an e-transfer to DebKimmett at gmail.com. Kimmett with two M's and two T's. On behalf of Comedians with Compassion, Deb, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you, Judy. I really appreciate you asking me.